excited for all of you. I don't even know all of you, but this is Melissa. I'm super happy for all of you.
Ah, there she is. Oh.
Yeah, I counted. There was 42 bats that went out yesterday.
Good morning, Vija.
Good morning. I am big this morning. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I just put the spotlight on you.
Woo! All right.
No pressure.
No
Hey,
pressure.
so it's 5:30 your time, so thank you so
It
much.
is. So you're going to see me sipping this.
As you should. As you should. You should be able to share your screen. I'd love to have you just tell us a little bit about who you are. I think everybody knows who you are, but just a little introduction, then I'd love to have you just roll into it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And this was a gift to my day. So thank you guys for letting me do this at 5:30 a.m. It's hard to say that out loud, but at 5:30 a.m. My name is Vija Williams. I'm located in Seattle, Washington. I'm the head of industry for Place. Formerly, I was the president of our Ben Kinney brokerages here. We have 8 Keller Williams franchises, about 1,700 agents, and I transitioned out of that into this role last year. I am formerly the co-host of Empire Building Podcast, which is how Tony met me, and some of you might know me. And I've also transitioned out of that, launching a different podcast here in the next month or so. I have a real estate team in Seattle, and that's probably good enough. But I have 3 great kids and a great husband. So there you go.
Sounds like a win to me. And you used to live about 5 streets from my brother, which is just so small.
Yeah, that is so weird. What are the odds of that? I know. Crazy.
And our tech trainer, Kim, is from Kirkland.
Not even from Seattle, from Kirkland?
Yep.
It's unbelievable. Well, if you guys all know the Costco brand, Kirkland brand, it is from my hometown. Costco was founded here, as was Boeing, as was Starbucks. So we do have an Amazon. We have a lot of business here.
Absolutely.
It's a home store now. I didn't realize it was owned by Costco.
I didn't either.
Oh, I got to mute back there, somebody. Okay.
Maybe.
Let's get everybody on mute, please.
All right. So
thank you so much. Here you go.
So Tony, you wanted me to Tony reached out to me and on Instagram, right, Tony? Wasn't it?
Correct.
Instagram?
Yep.
And he said, we did a podcast episode on this. And he said, I want you to teach my people this. And he's been on top of me ever since. I mean, very, very kudos to you, because I think that's great. You love your people and that's great. I was also blown away by this concept, which is why I did a podcast on it 48 or 72 hours after reading the book. That is how, blown away I was by the concept of the upper limit problem. I'm curious, anyone in chat who's not driving, REI and Andy Bauer. Yes, Tina, exactly. There's so many, right? People just don't. Microsoft, I forgot to say Microsoft. It used to only be Microsoft, but anyway. I'd be curious in chat if anyone's heard of the upper limit problem. Just toss something in chat, say, yeah, no, what are you talking about? But I'd be curious to know, because I had never heard of it. And what happened to me is what I think you might resonate with. And I was in a coaching session last summer, and my coach, we're about 10 minutes into the session, which was on Zoom. And she said, is there anything else you need to tell me? I go, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, we bought our dream home on the lake, which actually, a funny story. I've never told this story. I'm here at that home. And she said, what? The house you've been talking about all year. I go, yeah, we bought it. And she's like, how do you feel? Because you don't sound very enthusiastic about it. It's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, yeah. She's like, is this, I just want to be clear, is this the house that was kind of the lifelong dream? And I was like, yeah. So have you guys ever felt like that when you finally hit this thing that you really have wanted, this goal that you really wanted, and you're like, meh, I mean, it's fine, it's good, it's not exactly what I thought of? That is classic symptom of an upper limit problem. So Let me just pull this up. Sorry, I can't read my own thing. So here is how an upper limit problem works. How it works is we all have internal thermostats. And I actually even have a handout for you if you want after this is over. So
Awesome.
we each have a thermostat setting, and I like to say, let's pretend that thermostat setting's at 80. The most examples I hear say 70, but I like to say 80 because I talk to people who usually have thermostat settings at 80. And what happens is when we start to go above that thermostat setting, we subconsciously want to ratchet it down. We want to ratchet it down. But if the good news is if we go below it, we also tend to want to ratchet it up. So the thing about an upper limit problem is we have a tolerance and a cap to how much happiness or joy that we will allow ourselves. Let me repeat that because what's probably going through your head is I don't have that. But we do, we have a cap of how much joy and how much happiness we can handle in our lives. And this can be in love, this can be in finances, this can be in your career, this can be in anything. And as it turns out, what we're seeking in life isn't happiness after all, it's comfort zone. And so what this really is it's us going outside of our comfort zone and subconsciously trying to press that puppy down to get to under 80 degrees, because so help me, we live in 80 degrees, right? So even when we have this amazing thing happen, like I bought my dream house on the lake, even when that happens, we can't even allow ourselves to celebrate because we're not used to feeling that much joy and happiness. And if you're wired like me, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? That's just a thing I have on the KPA. You know, we have the scale on on optimism. I'm a 0. Ben Kinney and I are both zeros on that. So we really are both highly skeptical and waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? That's just the way we're wired. If you're really low on that scale, you'll resonate. Most of you are really high on that scale because I work with real estate agents every day who are highly optimistic, right? But the fact is we all have a limit. So it can be, like I said, in love or finance and health. And maybe this is our preset limit right here. Maybe what this graphic looks like is our preset limit. And what we're going to talk about today is how to get those limits up to where the red bars are and how to get them up. It is much harder than you think it is because we want to have a set point of where that line is, right? We want to have a set point and we think we can go over it. I don't know about you guys, but I had heard that expression for years saying, you know, so-and-so's afraid of success or don't be afraid of success. And I never understood it. I was like, what are you talking about? I am not scared of getting wealthy. I am not scared of success. Like, that's crazy. But actually that stems from the upper limit problem. And I just never understood that phrase before. And that's what it is. What it is it's you have a set point that is your comfort level. And it is surprisingly hard to get above that set point in any area of your life. And so we're just gonna kind of breeze through it. I only have about 20 minutes today. When I taught that, I literally read this book on a Wednesday, and I was teaching it on a Friday, doing a podcast on a Friday. That is how impactful it was in my life, because I saw the red flags in almost every aspect of my life, almost every aspect. So, you know, with an upper limit problem, like I just said, you might be experiencing a period of success where everything's going well, but there's a part of you that's uncomfortable having that winning streak, and you calibrate down. The best example I have for a lot of people in this room, for me, is you finally get a whole bunch of money and you spend it down, or you finally get in that great relationship and you start picking fights. What's interesting is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can be physical fitness. It can be your relationship with your friends, with your family. It doesn't matter. But when you can't seem to either get what you want, when it just seems elusive, think wealth building, think weight. I think those are two really good ones. So when you're not quite getting what you want, or when you get it, think money, think weight, and you can't keep it, that's most likely an upper limit problem. That's when you know you have an upper limit problem. So we're going to go through a couple signs that you are hitting one. Self-sabotage is the big one. And here's what's interesting about self-sabotage, and we talk about this a little bit in the podcast, We tend to self-sabotage in areas of life that are separate from the area experiencing success. So it is very elusive. It is very hard to spot. Example, you finally make your goal of, I'm just going to pick a number of $100,000 in income. This is a goal you've wanted forever, right? You might keep that money in the bank, but you might go and gain 20 pounds. Or flip side, you finally get to that goal weight you want, right? And you might keep it there. You might be in an exercising rhythm. That's great, but you start spending your money. And this is just because we are trying to calibrate back to normal. Our nervous system, our bodies can't even accept that you could be skinny and wealthy at the same time. That's really what that is about. And there's a lot of research on this, but you can see some of the examples on the slide are, binge eating, cheating on a partner, spending all your money. I think those are really obvious ones, but there's some really subtle ones that you can look for as well, right? So just because you're sabotaging in one area, I just wouldn't want you to limit what you're looking at and how you're evaluating your life, because you might be doing it now. We're all doing it now. I'll tell you something, you guys. I pulled this deck out last night. I did it this week. I hit it. I realized it was slapping me in the face that I was hitting an upper limit problem. And I'll share that if we have time at the end, because it's one I think you'll all relate to. So that was sabotage. So sabotage can happen again in other areas. The second, really, there's a lot of ways we can tell, by the way, but I just picked 3 of the main ones. The second one is worry, just a constant worry, a constant state of worry. This one I relate to a lot, which is why it's on the slide deck. And Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap, by the way, I should have said that up front. He's the one that coined the upper limit problem. I was just listening to an interview of him last week. He's a fascinating man. It took him a year to write the book, but 30 years of thinking about it. So 30 years he thought about it and studied it, and then he just cranked that book out in a year. Writing it in a year is pretty fast for a book like this, for a revolutionary book like this. So when we think about worry, oftentimes we're worrying about things that we can't control. And that's really a red flag for you to start thinking about. Maybe you've hit some kind of an upper limit problem if you're legitimately worried about something you don't have control. So you can start asking yourself, hey, do I really have control here? Am I just cycling in my head because I'm just ratcheting my level of satisfaction, my happiness, my ability to move forward down, right? So really, really look at your worry. It'd be one thing if you send a kid off to college for the first time and we're unsure about that. I think that's pretty legitimate worry. If you leave the house and you're worried about switching light switches off and all these things in your world that you literally have no control of, and it's constant, and you're feeling a pit in your stomach. Sometimes you can feel it in your body. You might want to start, doing an audit, doing a life audit and saying, hey, do I have an upper limit problem somewhere? Am I trying to ratchet this down to some kind of a normal? Criticism and blame. A lot of us in this room have gone to bold and are really, really good at not playing victim. Like, I pride myself on not playing victim. And I think it's surprising sometimes, though, how we're doing it in ways that we don't understand. And part of how we do that is blame and criticism. Blame and criticism is really playing victim. And it took me a while to recognize that in myself, because I was staunchly not a victim in anything, to the point where, I feel like I it's my fault if the weather turns. I should have predicted that. That's on me. I'm accountable to that, right? So for me, who takes the weather as something that, I can take accountability for, I am not a victim. But I have found, and that's partly what hit me this week, I have found that that it's easy to blame and criticize others when we're falling short or struggling or, on a momentum, or we're hitting some success levels that we've never crested before. And I would really watch this tendency. I think that especially this group who tends to not be victim-minded, we all need to watch this tendency. I think that this tendency is, when we've got an income cap that we can't seem to break, it's easy to blame other factors. It's easy to blame the market. It's easy to blame other people. It's easy to blame, your particular market, your client base, your database, your leads, if you're an agent on a team, right? I know what I did on the slide deck. So criticism and blame shouldn't be on the top. these are just different examples of when you know you're hitting a problem. If you're picking fights about nothing when things are going well, are you picking fights with your spouse? Are you picking fights with people on your team? Are you, part of that is just a sign that you're going through an upper limit problem. This slide I'm realizing is other signs, other examples. If you leave projects 70 to 90% done, I'm still guilty of this, you guys. Oh my God. Start projects and you just don't quite finish them. Why? What is stopping you? I've read something before on this that said, you stop cultivating and executing ideas right before they would make money, right before you develop those into a business. And I look at people like side note, I look at people like Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, and I'm like, why they are there and I am here is they just don't have these limiting beliefs. They didn't hit this upper limit problem, right? These are really just limiting beliefs, to use bold language. I mean, that's really what an upper limit problem is, really a limiting belief where you've hit a ceiling, is what that is. Getting sick is strangely often an upper limit problem. There was a story I just heard yesterday where someone hit a really great level of success and they got in the shower and randomly slipped in the shower and broke a leg before a big presentation. It's just random stuff like that that are very, when you get sick right before that big moment, especially if it's a pattern, sometimes our bodies are actually fighting back. So getting sick is a good example of how it shows up in another area that's not the upper limit problem. Procrastination and disorganization. So I was doing this slide last night. This is what hit me. And let's see if I have time to tell the story. Yeah. And I was writing it from an article I read. And so I'll read it for those of you who it's kind of hard to read. Procrastination or disorganization of good things. So not procrastinating bad things, procrastinating good things. The things that the leads you haven't followed up with, right? The listing you haven't done the CMA for that's due. The buyer you haven't called, right? The money is there to be had, and for some reason you're not claiming it. So I have been doing really well at Place. I've been on a roll, I've been on a momentum, and I had this week, I travel about half of the time for my role. And this week I was home all week. And when I'm home, I'm really good. Like I really move the needle, because when I leave and I'm gone, it's harder to get on the phone, lead generate, prospect, do all the things. So I had all these great meetings earlier in the week. And for some reason yesterday, I wasn't following up. Like I knew I needed to. I can't even explain it. I knew I needed to. I had all these emails. I would do other things. You guys ever done that? Is it just me? It was just so crazy. And I don't know why I wasn't following up. These are really important things to follow up on, right? And I looked at this slide because I had just read this article and I was like, oh my gosh, I am procrastinating and I'm being disorganized. This is an upper limit problem. And so I have got to bust through that. So let's talk about how to get through it, because I think by now, I mean, I would think most of you, go ahead and throw it in chat. Does this resonate with anybody? Is anybody in here saying to themselves, oh my gosh, in at least one area, I can see where this could happen in my life, right? It happens so often in our lives, and we're clueless about it all the time. Exactly, Kelly, all the time. So I love this phrase. It's called benign vigilance, And this is the phrase that Gay Hendricks, the author, uses when he says, hey, how are we going to actually get through this, right? And the example that Gay gives on what this phrase means is, hold on, Zoom is super fun right now. It's coming up with all these docs all over my screen. Super interesting. He was talking about when he was learning to drive, he remembers his instructor telling him that driving was kind of more of an art than a science. And the key to the art was what he called benign vigilance, or paying keen but relaxed attention to what your car and the other cars are doing at a given moment. So what he says is, this is what we need to do for the upper limit problem. We need to use this process of paying attention to one's personal growth and development. We need to have a benign vigilance on it. So if we're benignly vigilant, right? So if we could have keen but relaxed attention on this, we don't need to be all keyed up about it. But if throughout the day, like me, like with the example I was giving you yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, This is an upper limit problem. That's how we need to be. A lot of grace. You have to give a lot of grace to yourself. You will not get through this if you don't give grace to yourself. If you are really hard on yourself, this won't work. You're going to stay there. I know firsthand because I can flog myself like the best of them. So this is where we're a little bit gentler with ourselves and we just notice it. All we have to do is notice it and be aware of it. That is going to be 70% of this benign vigilance. Then, and I don't know, I'm going to skip some of this, Tony, because of time. Let me see.
Understood. Not a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to skip. I think I might just go off the deck and wrap it because I want to give time for, yeah. Okay. So if you read the book, The Big Leap, which I highly recommend reading, he talks about the zone of excellence, the zone of genius, excuse me. And it's sort of like being in flow. The point of the zone of genius is that you are so in your zone where you are your absolute best that you will push through the upper limit problem naturally. And I do think of Ben a lot because I work with him, every day. But I look at Ben Kinney and he has been so good. I would say probably one of the big superpowers, like why he is where he is that he just stays in his zone and he is absolutely at peace with other aspects of his world falling apart if his focus is going to be the needle moving focus. But the best thing to do with the upper limit problem is to gently increase your happiness and your joy and your threshold every day. Don't go. Don't go do 500 push-ups tomorrow if you've hit an upper limit problem in your physical fitness. That doesn't work. But in your physical fitness, be in pain for 2 minutes longer in your workout tomorrow, right? Like push it a little bit more. Allow yourself to celebrate for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, literally close everything down and allow yourself to celebrate that huge victory, whether it's buying the house on the lake, whether it's, getting that listing, whether it's selling that listing, whether it's having a certain amount of closings in a month, whatever it is. Maybe it is losing a certain amount of weight, but start giving yourself moments every day where you're starting to expand your ability to accept that new limit so that, maybe by the end of the month, my limit's at 81, 82 degrees. And then maybe in a couple of months, it's 82, 83 degrees. Maybe in 6 months, it's 85 degrees. Maybe I've reset my point in 6 months to 85 degrees. And then maybe I can go to 90 and then 100 and then 120, right? So this is a very gradual process that is tough to do. If you listen to the podcast episode that Tony's referring to, I did a mini version of that. I walked Seychelles through. She just was not allowing herself. She still struggles with it. She was not allowing herself to go enjoy and be in the moment and get a well-deserved vacation from her family because she always felt like she had to be in service to everybody, in service to her family, in service to her team. And so I said, hey, for one day, just one day on your vacation, the day you get there, just one day, try this. Okay. And then when you try that, I'm going to have you wake up, you're going to check in, the next day, I want you to try it again. And just in one day at a time. And we should have done a follow-up. Hopefully I'll ask them to do a follow-up episode or I'll bring her on my episode. But it started to work and she'll talk to you about the results of that. So there are more things we can go through and you can go through when you read that book. Gay's also written a second book that I haven't read yet, but it really walks through how to stay in that zone of genius. So but this is one of those topics. Any questions or comments or ahas? I would love to hear if there's any ahas from anybody.
For me, it'd be one of the things that you said about projects at 70 to 80%. That just
Got you.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can think of so many things that I've started and got to that point and then haven't finished and I don't know why. Wow.
Well, that's something
really
to
good.
stay in. So what I would say to you, I would challenge you to do then is to take one of those, projects and today work 15 minutes on it. And then tomorrow work 15 minutes on it, Monday, whatever it is. And then, you've got to bust through that by executing on that task.
Love it.
As I say to myself, by the way, side note, saying that to myself. Kelly, I think Kelly has a comment.
Yeah, Kelly Irwin.
So, hi, good morning. Thanks for being being here. Tony sent me this podcast, must have been last like August or September.
Mhm.
And just I listened to it a couple times and then followed your podcast as well. I am guilty of all aspects of self-sabotage in regards to doing all this. And when you say give yourself grace, that is like the biggest takeaways for me. And recognizing when I have these behaviors show up in my personal, professional, mental, physical life, it's like I recognize them and then I adapt to what that situation is. So just the recognition
Yes.
earlier on has saved me from going down that rabbit hole of absolutely sabotaging different aspects of my life. So just the recognition and being aware of it earlier on has completely helped me recover at a faster rate.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kelly. And I would say at that level, the level you're at with this, you should listen to the book on Audible or read it. I actually listened to it on Audible, and I mean, he'll go deeper. You'll get more like just deeper level on that, because you're using it now. You're actively using it. I mean, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Trying to find the episode.
I see Mary Bly's got her hand up.
Hi, Mary.
Good morning.
Morning, Mary.
And I'd like to also thank you. I have to tell you, I popped on 5 minutes late, and the subject and listening to you speak, it was like, I just love it when we show up when we're supposed to.
Yeah. So this hit you then.
Oh yeah. The
Yeah.
idea of, setting some goals and hitting them. I feel hitting them and then even self-sabotage, sabotaging yourself. I feel that little bit of discomfort, uneasiness with accomplishing something and not feeling really settled in it. And then the self-sabotage in some way, maybe not even that. And then again, self-sabotaging in the sense that we know we have more. Almost to the point where it's simple as, like you said, you got leads sitting on your desk or something to put together for a buyer, done deal.
Oh, that
And you're
CMA that you're behind on.
procrastinating?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's weird
Yes.
that we do it. Like, it is literally weird that we do it. But the recognition, I mean, to Kelly's point, the recognition is, Kelly, right, 80% of it almost, right? Like, I mean, then it's just a matter, it's really probably 80% of it, because then it's just a matter of pushing through the execution. So Tony, that's where I would, push you. And then, Kelly, it's just, it's whatever your deal is for the day, right? Being in the moment, recognizing that this is who I am. What's really happening with it is we're going through identity shifts when we change, when we grow. And this is our old self fighting with this, we don't identify with the new self yet. And so we have to get used to identifying with this new person who is wealthy, who finishes projects, who has successful businesses, who whatever. And we fight it consciously, because in this room, we're all really wired to be achievers. And we, of all people, like we are at Keller Williams, we know this stuff, right? But it is happening and you don't even realize it. I think Diane's hands up.
Hi, it's Richard. That was a zinger that hit me right in the face. Talking about having a meeting or having like a really A+ meeting or an A+ phone call, and being very clear on what are the next steps and what's my follow, what's my follow through. And I've got this game plan right there in front of me. And as soon as I'm done with the meeting or the phone call, I just go find something else to do. And that list goes to the back of the desk. It's like, well, I'll get to it. And why? Yeah. Why am I not just jumping on this and following it to conclusion? So
what are you going to do next time?
I'm not going to go find something else to do.
Yeah. And as I say to myself, because that's a really big one with me. Like, why am I so tardy on CMA? I'm tardy. I told you it happened to me yesterday. I owed a CMA yesterday. I didn't do it. Like, what is wrong with us, right? I mean, we have got to recognize this and push past this. because
Yeah.
otherwise we're going to keep bumping on these ceilings that we keep bumping on, and then we complain that we're never, cresting it, right? That this number is elusive, that this wealth is elusive, and we're sabotaging ourselves without even realizing it.
Yeah. Earlier in the week, we had gone to bed, and I was, with the time change, I have difficulty falling asleep, and it was like almost midnight. And oh my God, I forgot. And I got up and I went downstairs to my office and I wrote an email that I should have written probably at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's actually good that you did that. That's awesome. I'm proud of you. I like that you did
Well,
that.
I knew I'd never be able to fall asleep if I didn't.
Yeah. But yeah, it's recognizing it is really the gist of it, and then sitting in it, and then the next level is the zone of genius. The next level is creating a life that you're in so much flow and you're in so much your sweet spot that you don't leave things on your desk. Part of that is that's a little bit outside of your behavioral style, probably, and mine too. We're not necessarily the great follow-up people. I mean, we're just, we're great on the phone, we're great in the moment, we're great determining the action plan, right? So ultimately, in a perfect world, we're creating lives for ourselves where we don't have to be that person. But in the meanwhile, we don't get to be in that role at that level unless we do the thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
for sharing.
Can I say, BJ, have you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score?
Okay, no, and you're like the
You
third
gotta read
person.
it.
Okay.
Our brain is trained on the reactions
You
from
are
our
I'm gonna
life
buy it
from
right now.
birth. And it's very scientific, but everything you're saying, our reactions are past experiences that we've learned, and then we take them into the new, unless we recognize that we want to change the reaction situations, because our brain is already chemically wired that way. It's like you have to practice. It's like doing bicep curls. You have to tell your brain, I'm going to change how I'm reacting to this situation. It's a great book.
Yes.
I'm listening to an audio because it's very
Okay,
scientific.
Melissa, let's do it. Melissa's saying she keeps being told to read it too. Melissa, let's do it. Let's read it. We got to do it. When I've like had 3 people tell me about that book. So, and I'm losing
you
weight,
go.
so I really need that book. So.
Oh, Vija, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. This has been fantastic. I
Thank
really,
you.
really,
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
It was short, but yeah, I look forward to one of these. I'll come back maybe when I'm on the East Coast and it's not 5:30 a.m. Maybe I'll join again, and we can do some follow-ups on it. But what I would love, since I got up at 5:30 to do this,
Please.
if you guys make any changes or this clicks something in your life, I would love to know about it on Instagram. I'm Vija. Here, I'll write it down. I'm Vija. Just message me or something, because that's my one request when I speak like this is I just want to know I've impacted someone. And so if this, just keep me posted. Let me know if you guys read the book. I will read The Body Keeps Score. We have Built How next week, so I don't know if I can do it next week, but I'll do it in the next month or so. So.
Fantastic.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Well, enjoy your day.
Thank you. I
again.
will.
I really
got an early
appreciate
start to my day. All right. Bye.
Hopefully it's a great start to the rest of the day.
It is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Vija. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.